Hey guys, Movie Wiz here. In today's video, I will be telling you the story of the horror film Before I Wake. Spoilers ahead. Enjoy the video. The story begins with an 8-year-old boy named Cody who's asleep in his bed when a deranged man holding a gun enters his room. The man hears a screeching sound outside the room and decides to close the door. He then apologizes to Cody and points the gun at him. As he pulls the trigger, the door suddenly slams open, causing the man to lose his aim. Cody then wakes up after hearing the gunshot and looks petrified upon seeing the man. The man, realizing what he has done, cries and drops the gun onto the ground. The next scene introduces a couple named Jesse and Mark Hobson, who are in a foster care center looking to adopt a child. The woman from the foster care hands them a picture of Cody, who has lost his mother and has troubles finding a permanent home. She proceeds and tells the couple that Cody was abandoned by his previous foster parents and was found all alone in the apartment for almost a month. Because of bad experiences, this may have resulted in Cody being reserved and having sleep issues. But still, she says Cody is a great kid and thinks Mark and Jesse can be a good fit for him. Moments later, the couple reaches home and starts to make the house ready for Cody's arrival. Mark installs safety bars in the bathtub and proceeds to remove several family pictures that include him, but leaves one portrait on the wall. The story cuts to Jesse attending a therapy session with a group of people. She shares to them about their decision to adopt Cody and wishes Mark can also attend the sessions with her. When she goes home and is about to sleep, she goes upstairs and inside the bathroom. As she walks up and touches the bathtub, she remembers a boy drowning from it, which was their young son Sean, who died from accidentally drowning in that same tub. Finally, Cody arrives with his box of stuff and gives the couple the warm smile and invites them to come inside their house. Cody looks around and sees their family portrait that includes their young son Sean. They then show Cody his bedroom. And because Cody loves butterflies, he sees a curtain printed with designs of it and genuinely tells the couple that he likes the room. On Cody's first night, the couple tucks him into bed. When they leave, Cody goes out of bed and looks for his box, where he brings out a book of butterflies and a soda. Back to his bed, he drinks it as he reads the book. The next morning, Mark takes Cody to school. He receives a warm greeting from his teacher and classmates. After school, we see Cody taking a bath in the tub as Jesse, worried as the memory of the drowning accident is still fresh, goes to check on him to make sure he's okay. Jesse then goes to Cody's room and finds his box underneath his bed. Curious at what's inside, she opens it and sees a book, a few cans of soda and caffeine pills. That night, Jesse confronts Cody about the box, and he admits he does not want to fall asleep. Jesse assures him that he has nothing to worry about, but Cody insists that there is. He proceeds to tell her about the canker man who visits him in his dream and eats people, including his mom. She tries to convince Cody that it's just a dream and will eventually go away now that he's in a new home. But Cody says it's always with him, as the canker man says so. As the couple is in the living room and Mark is watching the TV, he notices butterflies fluttering across the room and soon wakes Jesse up. Mesmerized at the beauty of the glowing butterflies, Mark tries to capture one with a glass and one butterfly landing on Jesse's finger. It flies away, then suddenly a black bug bites her. As Jesse looks outside, still wondering where they all come from, a strange white creature is shown behind her. When Mark finally captures the blue butterfly, it disappears all of a sudden with the rest of it. Later that night, Jesse wakes up and goes to the kitchen to drink a glass of water. She then sees a boy in the dark that causes her to tremble and drop the glass. She follows it upstairs in the bathtub and sees no one in there. She checks on Cody and sees him asleep. The next day during Jesse's therapy session, she shares about what happened last night to the group. She says that Sean may be haunting her for replacing him with Cody. As Jesse insists that what she saw isn't a dream, the psychologist tells her that she just experienced a waking dream. He tells her that sometimes the only outlet to get rid of the negative emotions we are suffering from is our subconscious. At school, Cody is putting colors on his butterfly drawing when a girl named Annie sitting beside him helps him draw its missing antenna. He gazes at a boy named Terry that is punished by their teacher, taking a seat at the back of the room. That night, Cody stares at the couple's portrait and asks about the boy in the picture. Mark tells him that he is their son Sean, who is now in heaven, which Cody says his mom is also in. As the couple ask about his mom, Cody does not remember anything about her. When Cody's asleep, Mark suddenly wakes up and sees the blue butterfly in his finger. He wakes Jesse up, and as Jesse looks around, she sees Sean from a distance and calls Mark's attention. The couple looks shocked and petrified, but soon begins to caress Sean as though he is real. When Jesse gives Sean a hug, he vanishes. They then see Cody get a soda from the fridge, and Cody apologizes to them. The next morning, as the family is having breakfast, Cody seems apologetic, and the couple wonders why. He says he apologizes for dreaming about their son Sean, making the couple happy, realizing that Cody has a gift of making his dreams turn into a reality. Hopeful to see and maybe hear Sean's voice again, the couple makes Cody watch an old video of Sean to try to make him understand and dream about him again. The video is on Christmas Day when they gave Sean a train, and Cody seems to enjoy watching it. The The following night, Cody does dream about the old video recreating it as the couple sees the glowing butterflies and a Christmas tree. A few seconds later, they see Sean and hear him as he goes to open his gift. Jesse, looking overjoyed, goes to Sean and presses their noses against each other. Shortly after, the butterflies gather together and form a figure of a creature with glowing eyes. The creature enters Cody's room wheezing as he goes to whisper into Cody's ear, telling him that he's always with him. Cody then wakes up looking startled. At school, we see Cody drawing a picture of what he describes as the Canker Man and doodling around to destroy it. He says he does it to keep him away. A few moments later, we see Mark and Jesse get into an argument as he accuses his wife of using Cody for his gift instead of loving him. As Mark argues that it is fair for Cody, Jesse doesn't want to listen to him, as she thinks that this could help them heal. The next day, as Cody is about to enter the school building with a jar of butterflies in his hand, Terry comes out of nowhere and breaks the jar. In return, Cody pushes him to the ground. Inside the classroom, Cody seems to have a problem staying awake as he has not been sleeping because of the Canker Man. So during recess, he asks his teacher if he can stay as he sees the bully Terry outside waiting for him. He instantly falls asleep and Terry seizes the opportunity to go inside and get revenge. As he goes near Cody, he sees a butterfly and Sean sitting. And when he looks behind, he sees the monstrous creature Cody describes as the Canker Man. Annie is about to enter the room when she sees the Canker Man as the creature tilts its head and scans her. The Canker Man returns its attention to Terry and goes up to absorb him. Annie screams, causing Cody to wake up. Terry is nowhere to be found. At home, Mark checks on Cody, comforting him as he worries about Terry's disappearance. Refusing to fall asleep, Cody drinks a soda and tries to read his book as he hears a noise underneath his bed. He goes down to check it, but nothing is in there. After checking it, he sees Terry with his eyes surrounded by black color as he screams at him and vanishes. Meanwhile, Jesse wakes up and sees Sean repeatedly saying, "This can't be happening. I'm awake." Cody, on the ground and is perhaps in a waking dream, sees Terry under his bed pulling him closer. He screams as he convinces himself he's awake, and Jesse goes up quickly to hug Cody and calm him down. That morning, Cody refuses to go to school and Mark takes him out for shopping. Increasingly worried about Cody, Jesse goes to a doctor and tells her about him having trouble sleeping. The doctor gives her a prescription of sleeping medication as he said sleep deprivation may cause the boy permanent damage. When Mark and Cody return home, a detective and a police officer waits in front of their home to ask Cody about the school incident. Moments later, Jesse is home and Mark tells him about the police officer who came by earlier to investigate Terry's abduction. In an obvious attempt to change the subject, he asks the couple about how Sean died and the couple didn't answer and let Cody wait for them at the dinner table. Moments after, Jesse sneaks the drug into Cody's drink. She delivers the snack to the room where Mark and Cody are painting the wall with orange. After that, Mark tucks Cody into his bed as Cody tells him that this is his favorite day so far. Answering Cody's question earlier, Mark tells him that Sean died from drowning. Cody apologizes sweetly at Mark, but tells him that he has the right to know it and assures him that nothing like that will ever happen to him. Later that night, the couple sees Sean again with a large box in front of him. This seems to be a happy moment, but when Jesse leans down and calls his name, Sean throws up a black liquid onto Jesse's face and bugs come out his mouth. The box then opens and we see the Canker Man coming out of it. Upstairs, Mark tries to wake Cody up but is unresponsive because of the drugs Jesse gave him. Jesse tries to close the door so that the creature won't get in and Mark goes to help her up. The Canker Man is so strong that it breaks the door into pieces. Mark tries to stop the creature but it grabs him and slowly devours Mark's whole body. Jesse tries to save Mark, but the Canker Man throws her to the ground and she loses consciousness. Jesse slowly opens her eyes and sees Cody on the phone calling 911 for help. Police arrive and ask Jesse why she drugged Cody. Not knowing the whole situation, social services take Cody away to an orphanage. Now, Jesse is all alone grieving for Mark and Cody. Desperate for help, Jesse waits for Natalie, who is their adoption agent that recommended Cody. She insists on speaking to Cody and to know more about his dreams, but she refuses to help her. Natalie hands her a leaflet for domestic violence and tells her to contact that instead. Jesse steals Cody's file and walks out of the office. She checks the file in her car and sees the man named Wellen Young, who is the same man from the beginning of the movie. She goes to the mental institution to look for him. As they get to talking, he confirms that he has fostered Cody for 15 months before he was given to other foster parents who also disappeared the same way her husband did. He then tells her about his own experience with Cody. Initially, he and his wife Katie were so impressed with Cody's gift seeing glowing butterflies and other good things until Katie got sick that may have caused Cody to be upset. While they were asleep, the Canker Man absorbed his wife Katie and vanished. He then used Cody's gift to see her at night. He says it looks real, but it is not his wife and that it's just an impression of her that Cody has created on his mind, which was the same with Sean. After that night, he started to hate Cody but couldn't kill him. Wellen tells her that the only way to stop Cody's nightmares is to put an end to Cody himself. Jesse objects to this and goes to the hospital where Cody was picked up by the orphanage to find out about Cody's mother. After receiving the file from the hospital, she goes to the hospital's archives and discovers a box of slippers, a butterfly toy, and a journal that belonged to Cody's mother, Andrea. At the orphanage, the staff have noticed that Cody has not been sleeping for the past 2 days. Natalie decides to watch over Cody. That night, the boy is given a tranquilizer, which he tries to resist as he says he doesn't want to hurt anyone else. At home, Jesse calls someone to track Cody and arrives to find the place dark and isolated. She enters the place and gets startled when a group of black bugs pass by. She goes upstairs to follow it as it is a sign that Cody is already having a nightmare. She sees Natalie in a cocoon attached to the wall. Then she goes to a room where she sees a bathtub. As she turns away, she sees Terry and falls to the ground. She also sees Sean recreating the scene of him drowning. Not allowing herself to be distracted by the memories of her dead son, she walks away and proceeds to look for Cody. In the living room, she sees Cody and a woman walking towards him. The blonde-haired woman who looks just like her but with no eyes caresses Cody's face, then starts to dig her finger on his head and twisting. Cody's face changes to Sean with no eyes. Mark suddenly appears in front of Jesse, with no eyes and black bugs coming out of it. She closes the door and goes out again to look for Cody. In the hallway, she sees more people in a cocoon attached to the wall and realizes that it is a way for Cody to protect them from the canker man. She finally finds Cody asleep when the canker man appears and throws her across the hallway. It stands for a moment, then suddenly runs towards her, screeching. Jesse then pulls out a pillow shaped like a blue butterfly, and the canker man stops as it recognizes the toy. Jesse slowly goes to hug the creature, and it does not resist it. As she holds it, it takes the form of Cody and vanishes. Jesse carries Cody and asks him to release the people from the cocoon. The nightmare turns into a beautiful dream. Natalie stops Jesse for a second, but realizes that because Cody has a special gift, it's best to let him be with someone who understands how he is. Jesse takes the still unconscious Cody home. The next day, Jesse hands Cody the journal his birth mother Andrea had kept, which shows how much she had loved him and his gift. The obsession for butterflies also began when his mom gave her the blue butterfly toy. She writes a lot about Cody but suddenly stopped doing so when she got sick. Jesse then shows the medical record and Cody pronounces cancer as canker. She had suffered from pancreatic cancer when Cody was just 3 years old. Andrea's appearance changed because of the chemotherapy, and on her last day, she might have told Cody that she will always be with him. Jesse then reveals that the canker man is actually Cody's mother when she had cancer, but Cody was too young to understand what was going on with her and thought a monster had taken over her because of how the chemotherapy changed the way she looked. She tells Cody how special he is and apologizes for using him to see Sean. As she tucks Cody into bed, she tells him a beautiful bedtime story recreating the memories of the people taken by the canker man. She says that people never leave as they stay in our hearts, and it seems to show that Jesse is hopeful that Cody can bring the missing people back someday. The story ends in a scene showing Cody creating a butterfly in his hand while awake, which tells us that he's beginning to learn how to control his gift. And there you have it. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more movie recaps like this. Good night.